Dead, says Egon in Ghostbusters. It's a movie. Okay. Sorry. So, print is going to, it's not called really print at the time it's writing. Of course, they don't have the printing press until Gutenberg, when you say it. And that's just in time. That's later, right? In fact, we're still in scrolls, right? So they're talking about scrolls as opposed to a codex, which comes much later, and then a book, which comes still later, and so on, right? But so they have scrolls, and they're writing, and Plato is upset about that, and yet he's the one that's going to write, at least one of the ones that writes, and he has to deal with a new problem that arises as you move away from poetry, because he's moving to prose, non-poetry. And the end result is you have to figure out what these words mean. Because when we're looking at the poetry, and that's the way that they were teaching their children, you're looking at Achilles. Achilles means no honor. Why does Achilles have no honor? Well, Agamemnon, which if you look it up in Wikipedia, it tells you what his name means, but I'm convinced that it really means no balls, king no balls. He has no gametes, right? And he's an idiot. Everything he does is idiotic. And yet he's the king, right? He can't even count his ships, his men. He doesn't know how many he has. And he is quite the idiot. I mean, God bless you. Gesundheit. Gute Zdrowie. A votre santé. Stop it.
He's an idiot.
Pardon?
I was just reminding you where you're at. He's an idiot.
He's an idiot, but they attack the enemy, which is Troy, right? And they've, haven't breached Troy yet, but they've, there's lots of stuff around the city, and they captured a bunch of girls. And Agamemnon takes a prize. He takes a girl, right? And it turns out that the girl he chooses is the daughter of one of the priests of the Trojans, and the Trojan priest is upset. He took his daughter, and he comes into the camp, and he yells, "The gods are upset with you." How they thought then? He was upset, and he was convinced that's the gods are upset. So the gods are upset with you for taking Nicias, I think her name was, whatever. Can't offend the gods, so here, take her back. That's how they did that. Right? And now he's upset because I'm the only one without a prize. That's totally unfair. I'm the king. I should have a prize. And his brother Menelaus says, well, you're the king. Take any prize you like. So he looks around the camp, and the biggest, most strongest individual in their camp is Achilles. But Achilles has Briseis of the fair cheeks, and they never tell us which cheeks are fair. In any case, he decides he wants that girl. And so he takes Achilles' prize. Well, this is the point in the story where Achilles has been dishonored now. So that's where he earns the name Achilles, because he has no honor, because the king has taken his prize. So he sits down by the sharp ships and says he's not going to fight anymore. He's insulted, right? Well, the Greeks immediately start to lose, and eventually his cousin comes to him, and his cousin's name, by the way, is Patroclus, which means the country's honor. Patroclus comes in and tries to persuade Achilles to get back into the fight. He's still furious. He won't go. So Patroclus tells him a story about Cleopatra, which is Patroclus switched, and that, it's the Clea is the honor. Clea is the honor of the patria, right? For the team, get in there. Still doesn't persuade Achilles, so he says, well, can I borrow your armor then? And I'll try to fool them into thinking you're back in the battle. Okay. So he lets him put on his armor, which is absolutely silly, because Achilles is such a huge guy, and Patroclus isn't. So he puts on this huge armor, and he goes into battle, and he's clunking around, and the Trojans can tell, Achilles is back? No, that's not Achilles. And so they kill him. And at that point, Achilles, of course, now is furious. He just killed his cousin. So he does go back into the battle. He needs new armor first, though, because, of course, they took his armor. So his mother makes him all new armor within, like, 10 minutes, including a shield that has, like, the whole history of the universe on it. Amazing stuff. But in any case, Achilles has earned the name Achilles because he's been dishonored by Agamemnon, who's an idiot, right? As far as I'm concerned, that's my interpretation. You read other people that think Agamemnon is great stuff. By the way, how many folks saw the movie Troy? Wasn't that the name of the movie? Yes? Okay, so Agamemnon doesn't die at that time period. I mean, that would screw up a whole bunch of Greek tragedy. He's got to get back home and get killed by his wife. There's other things too. There's lots of stuff there. But here's the thing. Achilles is their icon of the Greek hero. And he behaves just like Conan in that musical. Why is he so great? Why is he the icon of Greek humanity? It's because he's so big and strong, he can kill whoever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. So the Greek ethic that kids are learning through the poetry is to be powerful, to be like Trump, let's slip in there. In order to be, elitist. There, that's the one I want, right? I can take whatever I want. When you're a star, they'll let you do whatever. All those horrible things. Well, that's the honorable thing. That's what everybody wants to grow up to do, at least if you're male. Maybe even if you're female. I don't know, right? By the time we get to Aristotle and Plato's first, really, the kind of arete, or ethic, or character, ethic means your character. Ethica is your character, right? By the time the Greeks get to this time period, the virtues are now justice, totally not the kind of justice that Achilles was prone to mete out. Off your head, right? They were into temperance, not wanting too much or too little, but just the right amount, right? Temperance. They were into wisdom. Doesn't look like they even had wisdom in the Homeric period. The closest thing to it was Odysseus. Remember, he was the sly one that thought up the horse. Build a horse, they'll pull it in. We have our own men inside, and they come out. Meanwhile, the Trojans are drunk, and of course they go out and they open the gates and let the rest of the force back in, and they kill everybody. Right? Nobody trusted Odysseus. He was so sly. That wasn't really an honorable thing. So I wouldn't say that they had wisdom as a thing. Right? Courage is important, and they have the virtue of courage. So with Plato, you get courage, temperance, wisdom, and justice are the main virtues that they're interested in. Right? But notice, while you're studying poetry, you get totally different kinds of virtues, and you learn about your characters that are emphasizing these virtues through the story where they're behaving, right? But by the time Plato is writing in prose, they're now going to have to ask, what do these words mean? And Plato's dialogues are virtually all an attempt to study a particular word and figure out what it means. So what we'll see as we're going through these different dialogues, the Republic, which oddly we use a Latin, res publica is the public theme, and in Greek it would be the polity. Apollos is the city, and so politea would be the word for the Republic in Greek. But the other ones, like for example, apology. How many folks had a chance to look at the apology? Good. What's it all about? Go ahead.
From what I understand, building Socrates and kind of laying out his entire life. He broke it up into two sections, why a broad majority of people disliked him, and then why those three views specifically, right, and why they made that case against him.
Miletus, Anytus, and Lycon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a broad statement.
Yeah. Well, they're accusing him of being a corrupter of the youth.
And he's trying to say that he just lets people listen to him speak. And if that's corrupting, then
He is found guilty.
yeah.
So he is corrupting them, at least as far as the 501 judges are concerned.
Yes.
Wasn't it pretty split though? Like he was surprised.
Yeah, he was surprised. It was pretty close, actually. As far as I understand it at the time, if the accusers failed, they received the punishment. So that's pretty stiff, right? You're not going to charge him with something if you're like, oh, unless I really have proof, right? But as Socrates, by the way, Socrates literally, as I understand it, means all of the power. Krates is power, like a democrates is the people, they may have the power, right? Aristoi krates, aristocrats, the best, aristoi, have the power, right? Plato, by the way, is a nickname for Aristocles. So Plato's real name, apparently, was Aristocles, which means the glory of the best, right? And that he's an elitist. Plato's philosophy is absolutely elitism, all the way down, right? Something I was just seeing, I don't know if this is fun or not. I won't play the whole thing. She's one of my favorites. This was filmed in Poland.
Si on s'en allait tout là-haut, si on prenait de la hauteur, tu verrais que le monde est beau.
Shoot.
Beau. Si on allait chiner les côtes,
Okay, I thought the
guérir les
captions would be there, but they're not.
peut-être trop.
She's singing, if everybody went up. Tuleho. Up, right? What on earth is she singing about? She never explains. But for some reason, as long as our minds are up there instead of all these things down here, everything would be better. Well, that's Platonic. That's a Platonic philosophy, essentially.